What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, and for my next movie review, I'm going to be reviewing a movie that I didn't get a chance to see in theaters this year. Came out this year. But I did get a chance to see on Putlocker about a week ago or so. It was a movie I was highly anticipating. And this movie is Deadpool. So, a little bit into Deadpool before I get into the review and all that. Deadpool is a movie, like I said, I've been anticipating for a while now. Ever since I heard about this movie, ever since I saw trailers for this movie, I've been heavily anticipating the film. I mean, when I first heard of Deadpool, was about when they announced when the movie was going to be made. I had never heard of it before. I'm not an avid comic book reader at all, so I was not exposed to the history of Deadpool from the comics. That being said, from what I saw from the trailers and from what I saw from what they were gonna make, what they were, hoping to make this movie about, it got me excited for this movie. It got me really excited for what could transpire with this film. Deadpool is a part of the X-Men universe. He's an X-Men character. He was originally in X-Men Origins Wolverine. And needless to say, there's a lot of backlash against what they did to his character, what the creators of X-Men Origins Wolverine did to his character in that movie. I won't spoil it too much for you here, but something big happened that was not met by fans very well. So anyway, Deadpool here is the chance to get this character right, to portray this character the right way in his own movie. There are a lot of people that have been, as well as the trailers, advertisements as well, some ad spots for Deadpool. A lot of people have been saying the ads for Deadpool and the trailers for Deadpool are some of the best marketing we've ever seen from a film. And it got a lot of people into seeing the movie because it's made a lot of money. I mean, it made more than what the studio was expecting, 20th Century Fox. A lot more. On a $58 million budget, it's made $762 million. So it's made $762 million. It's been out of theaters for a long time, so $762 million off a $58 million budget. This is worldwide, and this counts as worldwide, not just American budget. But you hear those numbers, and they're so good. This movie did a lot of successful things for an R-rated comedy movie, for an R-rated comic book superhero movie. I don't think we've had R-rated comic book movies before, but I don't think to the degree of success that Deadpool brought and all that. But without further ado, I'm going to get into the movie in general, my thoughts about the film, what the movie's about, the characters, and all that sort of thing. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. So this movie is about Deadpool, or Deadpool is the alter ego of Wade Wilson, who is this mercenary who is in some trouble. He gets into some trouble, and he looks to some people to get out of that trouble, to help him get out of that trouble. needless to say, these people are not very trustworthy, and they do something to Wade Wilson that gets him really pissed off. And so he becomes the person he becomes as Deadpool. So basically what this movie's about is that he's got to get revenge against the people who... This is an origin story. Of the origin story of Deadpool and how he came to be. So this guy has to get revenge against the people who wronged him. And he also, he wants to get revenge against the people who wronged him, he wants to get back to what he was before. And with the help of a couple X-Men characters that I'll be talking about afterwards, he tries to do this. So he goes on a mission to defeat the bad guys. So, and I don't want to spoil too much of the film and too much of the backstory in case not a lot of the audience has seen Deadpool or heard of Deadpool. I don't really want to spoil too much of it, because I want, if you guys haven't seen the movie or heard of Deadpool, I'll sell you enough. I'll sell you on the movie enough to where you'll get excited for sure and want to see it. Needless to say, this is a movie you do not want to take your little kids to, though. This is for a specific audience. Deadpool's an R-rated movie for a reason. No one under 17 should watch this film. Because, I mean, Deadpool, so yeah, I mean, that's the basic plot of the film, the basic genesis of the movie, per se. So, so getting into the characterization and all that. Now, Ryan Reynolds plays Deadpool / Wade Wilson, and a little bit of backstory into the character and all that. Deadpool was in X-Men Origins Wolverine originally, as I mentioned before, and Ryan Reynolds played Deadpool in that movie. He didn't like how Deadpool was portrayed in this X-Men movie, so he wanted to get this character right. He really loved this character. He saw a lot of potential in this character, so he petitioned for a long time to get a Deadpool movie made. And finally, of course, he got that wish. They had a $58 million budget. For a comic book movie, that's a low budget. That's a very low budget. And in this movie, they do make fun of the budget that they had to make this film. For sure, they're very self-referential. Deadpool is a very self-referential movie, for sure. It pokes fun at itself, while also poking fun at superhero culture in particular, the culture of superheroes, the X-Men universe, and all that sort of thing. So Deadpool is a very self-referential movie. It pokes, absolutely pokes fun at itself, pokes fun at everything else, pretty much. So, but yeah, Deadpool. And Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool does an amazing job. I mean, he is the star of this movie for a reason. I mean, Ryan Reynolds carries this movie on his red back, his red and black back, as Deadpool. He fits the character, and I knew that Ryan Reynolds was going to be a perfect fit as Deadpool because of a little movie he did back in 2002 called National Lampoon's Van Wilder, one of my favorite comedies of all time, and it has a lot of the same humor it has some of the same humor as Deadpool does. So I knew, and Ryan Reynolds knocked it out of the park in National Lampoon's Van Wilder. So I knew that Deadpool was in good hands with Ryan Reynolds. This is without seeing X-Men Origins Wolverine. I never seen anything of Deadpool before in my life, but I knew he'd be successful as Deadpool because of that movie. So I had a good feeling, and it paid off, because Ryan Reynolds is definitely the star of this movie for sure. But it's not just Ryan Reynolds. It's also some other people as well. You have an actress named Morena Baccarin, Morena Baccarin, if I'm pronouncing the name right, who plays Wade Wilson's girlfriend. The love of his life, the person who is the object of his affection. And she very much is like Wade Wilson for Deadpool. Smart ass, talks dirty like Deadpool does and Wade Wilson, and just pretty much his equal. Except kind of for the fact that she doesn't have superpowers, but his equal in that she is excuse me, very much his equal in the smart ass quality. They're very, Wade Wilson and Vanessa are very alike in many, many different ways. So yeah, Morena Baccarin, she does a nice job in this. She does a good job in this film. She is, no doubt, she is secondary to what Ryan Reynolds did as Deadpool, but still, she turns out to be a good character. And I can't wait to see what happens in the future for this character, because and I'll talk about that later anyway, but Ed Skrein, who was in last year's The Transporter Refueled, plays the villain in this movie, Ajax, who is the main villain of the film. He is the one that orchestrated all the bad things that happened to Deadpool, and he's the one that Deadpool wants to get revenge on. As a villain, Ed Skrein did a nice job portraying Ajax. He, again, secondary to what Deadpool was, but he was a nice addition to the cast, for sure. Some other characters, T.J. Miller, who's a comedian, plays Weasel, who is Wade Wilson's best friend. The comic relief within the comic relief that Deadpool is. Weasel is very much a character who is kind of like Deadpool in that he is very crude, likes to make a lot of jokes, and all that sort of thing. So T.J. Miller does a good job in this film. Some other characters to talk about. Gina Carano plays Angel Dust, who's the henchwoman of the villain Ajax. She does a good job as an intimidating, badass woman. Gina Carano actually had a little bit of backstory about her. She was a former mixed martial artist, so who's now getting into movies and all that. So she is she was a good character. She was a perfect casting as the tough, badass woman in this movie, for sure. Some other characters, Leslie Uggams plays Blind Al, who's actually not a man, as you might not think, but she's an elderly woman who's Deadpool's roommate, and just a good ally of his. She does a good job. And then the X-Men who actually were in this movie. Brianna Hildenbrand plays Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who is an X-Men character, and she is a very powerful character for sure. And Stefan Kapicic, if I'm pronouncing the name right, plays Colossus. He's the voice of Colossus. And Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are X-Men who help Deadpool in his quest to get revenge, ultimately. So yeah, those are pretty much the characterizations and all that, but the biggest thing to take out of this is that Deadpool is king in his own movie, and rightfully so. I mean, I might as well say it. I loved Deadpool. This movie blew my mind with how awesome it was. I mean, the jokes. The biggest selling point of Deadpool is the jokes. Is the jokes that Deadpool makes, the comedy in this film. Because Deadpool is a smartass, he makes a lot of crude, dirty jokes, while backing it up with his awesome ability as a badass anti-hero. The best way to describe Deadpool is he's an anti-hero. He is not a hero in the sense of, I am a hero, I have to save the day, like Superman or Superman, basically. He is the exact opposite of Superman. This guy just wants to get revenge on bad guys because he wants to get revenge on bad guys. He's in it for his own reason. He gets revenge for his own reasons, basically. So, and that's because of the people who wronged him in the past and all that. So, like I said before, there's a lot of great self-referential humor about the X-Men universe, about the budget that was created to make this movie, that was had for making this movie. Excuse me. And a whole bunch of other stuff as well. There is great comedy. There is incredible comedic scenes in this movie. The timing of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is incredible. The action in this movie is awesome. Deadpool is a ass kicker. He really knows how to kick ass in this movie for sure. He is definitely one of the greatest kick-ass superheroes in comic book history for sure. And he's one of the funniest. He's got a lot of ability. And I'm not going to get too much into his superpowers and all that, but he's got some awesome superpowers and all that. Created while he was wrongfully, he was wronged by the people who he thought were trying to help him. So yeah, there's that. I gotta give this, it's a 5 out of 5 stars. Easily for me, which is an amazing review. This movie was, to borrow from a lot, this movie swears a lot. You know, there's a lot of F-bombs in this movie, a lot of swear words, and all that crude humor. To borrow from that, this movie was fucking awesome. It really was. That's all I can really, it blew my mind, and this movie was just incredible. It really was. And hearing now that there's a sequel that's being greenlit, Deadpool 2 is in the works. They're going to have another X-Men character in the movie. I'm not going to say who it is, but they'll have an X-Men character in the film, and Ryan Reynolds is going to reprise his role as Deadpool in this movie. I mean, it's just a given, pretty much. So, I cannot wait. I can't wait for Deadpool 2. So, again, I mean, it's a 5 out of 5 stars for me. An amazing film. Ryan Reynolds just kills it as Deadpool in this film. He's just amazing. And then the other characters do a fine job behind him. But this is Ryan Reynolds' movie, and it shows. It just shows. So I can't ask enough. Go see this movie. But if you're under 17, don't watch the movie. If you're over 17, watch this movie. I can't. For 17 and up, you gotta see this movie. It's just mind-blowingly awesome, for sure. And that is it for my movie review on Deadpool. D-Rock 1992, out.